In the heart of the bustling city, amidst towering skyscrapers and vibrant life, there existed a seemingly forgotten corner, a patch of pavement where a homeless man named Jonah made his daily home. Jonah was in his late 40s, with deep-set eyes that revealed both wisdom and sorrow. His beard was unkempt, giving him a rugged appearance, but his presence exuded a quiet dignity rarely seen among those living on the fringes of society. Years prior, Jonah had led an ordinary life filled with hopes and dreams. He once worked as an electrician, enjoyed fishing on weekends, and often volunteered at community centers. However, a series of unfortunate events, a sudden job loss followed by devastating medical bills, had spiraled him into homelessness. With little help and fewer resources, he found himself navigating life on the streets, each day blurring into the next. Every morning, Jonah would set up his small spot near a corner cafe where he had befriended the barista, who occasionally provided him with leftover pastries. He would sit on a worn-out blanket that he treated like treasure. It was his only form of comfort against the cold pavement. Despite his challenging circumstances, Jonah maintained a positive outlook and often shared smiles with passers-by. He had learned to make small talk with strangers who stopped to drop coins into his outstretched hand. Yet beneath this resilient facade lay a profound sense of isolation. Most people hurried past him without a glance, caught up in their own fast-paced lives. But Jonah held on to hope that kindness would one day return to him. After all, it was impossible to predict how one moment could change everything for someone in need. Little did he know that soon enough, fate would step in unexpectedly, testing not only his spirit but also altering the course of someone's life entirely. As Jonah settled into another day on the streets, a woman named Clara was navigating the outskirts of the city in her modest sedan. Clara, a young professional in her 30s, had just finished a long day at work and was eager to return home. The sunlight was beginning to set, casting a warm golden hue over the road, but her spirit quickly dimmed when she heard a loud clunking noise coming from her engine. Before she knew it, the car sputtered and came to a complete stop on a busy thoroughfare. Panic surged through her as she tried to restart the engine, but it remained silent, stubbornly refusing to cooperate. Glancing at the time on her phone, she realized she would be stuck here for quite some time. The traffic whizzed by, and despite the multitude of cars on the road, nobody stopped to help. Clara stepped out of her vehicle, feeling vulnerable as she leaned against the side of her car. She attempted to call for roadside assistance but quickly became frustrated when her phone showed no signal. Stranded and anxious, Clara felt the weight of isolation pressing down on her. All she wanted was to reach home. As she paced beside her vehicle, glancing at passing drivers who barely acknowledged her plight, a sense of hopelessness began to wash over her. Just when despair threatened to take hold, Clara spotted a figure approaching from a distance. Jonah was making his way toward her with determined strides. Though he appeared weary and worn, there was an undeniable spark of kindness in his eyes. Little did either of them know that this encounter would set off a chain reaction that could forever change their lives. As Clara leaned against her car, a wave of despair washing over her, Jonah noticed the commotion from a distance. He could see her pacing anxiously and the slight tremor in her hands as she fumbled with her phone. It tugged at his heartstrings, reminding him of the vulnerability he often faced. With instinctual empathy, he set aside his own struggles and began walking toward her. Jonah's presence grew more defined as he approached. Despite his ragged appearance, there was a gentle warmth in his eyes that spoke of resilience and compassion. He made sure to maintain a respectful distance, not wanting to startle Clara but hoping to offer assistance. When she caught sight of him, a flicker of apprehension crossed her face. But Jonah, sensing her fear, raised his palms slightly in a gesture of peace. "Hey there," he said softly, his voice steady and calming. "Looks like you've hit a rough patch. Can I help you with anything?" Clara studied him for a moment. Although he looked worn and weary from life on the streets, there was an undeniable sincerity in his demeanor. Relieved to see someone willing to help, she explained her situation. "My car just stopped working, and I can't get anyone on the phone," she admitted, her voice strained. Without hesitation, Jonah offered to take a look under the hood. He had spent years working as an electrician and had picked up knowledge about cars along the way. As he knelt beside her vehicle, his hands deftly investigated the engine while Clara watched closely, feeling a sense of hope blooming within her despite the circumstances. In that brief moment of connection, two souls meeting at crossroads, Jonah's kindness illuminated the shadows surrounding them both, setting the stage for an unexpected turn in their lives. As Jonah knelt beside Clara's car, he quickly assessed the situation. The hood was warm, indicating it had been running recently, but a faint smell of burnt oil lingered in the air. He reached under the hood and peered at the engine components, recalling the many afternoons spent fixing various machines during his years as an electrician. "First, let's see if it's something simple," he said reassuringly, his hands moving with deft precision. Clara watched intently, her earlier apprehension beginning to fade as she observed his confidence. He checked the battery connections and looked for any visible leaks or loose wires. As he worked, he shared snippets of information about what he was doing, explaining how certain parts functioned and what signs to look for in a malfunctioning vehicle. After a few moments of inspection, Jonah's brow furrowed. "It looks like your alternator might be acting up. I can't fix it completely here, but we can try to jumpstart it if you have some cables." Clara rummaged through her trunk and found a set of jumper cables buried beneath some old gym bags. She handed them to him with a mixture of gratitude and relief. Jonah expertly connected the cables to both cars, her sedan and a nearby vehicle whose driver had kindly agreed to assist. As they attempted to jumpstart the engine, Clara felt a rush of optimism mingled with anxiety. She silently hoped this would work. When Jonah turned the key in her ignition after a brief moment, the engine coughed before roaring back to life. Clara gasped in delight as she realized they had succeeded. "Thank you. Thank you so much," she exclaimed, feeling overwhelmed with gratitude as Jonah smiled back at her triumphantly. His resourcefulness not only provided immediate aid but also restored her faith in human kindness at a time when she had needed it most. As Clara's engine roared back to life, a wave of relief washed over her, and she turned to Jonah with a grateful smile. "I can't believe you managed to fix it," she exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine appreciation. Jonah chuckled softly, brushing his hands on his worn jeans. "Just a bit of luck and some old skills coming in handy," he replied modestly. After a moment of silence, Clara leaned against her car, still processing the unexpected turn of events. "So, what's your story?" she asked, curiosity in her eyes as she gestured for him to join her by the side of the vehicle. Jonah hesitated for a moment, then decided to open up. "Well, I used to be an electrician," he began, sharing fragments of his life before the streets. How he loved working with his hands and helping others with their electrical needs. Clara listened intently, nodding as he spoke about his job and the community projects he had been involved in. She felt a connection forming. Here was a man who, despite facing enormous challenges, retained a sense of purpose and pride in his past. "I never imagined I'd end up like this," Jonah continued, looking down for a moment. "Life just has a way of throwing curveballs." Clara empathized, revealing her own struggles that day, the stress of work deadlines and the weight of expectations. As they exchanged stories, they found common ground in their experiences of vulnerability and resilience. Each shared narrative deepened their understanding of one another. "This city can feel so overwhelming sometimes," Clara said softly. Jonah nodded in agreement. "But it's moments like these, helping each other out, that remind me there's still good in people." Their conversation blossomed into laughter and shared insights about life's unpredictability, each finding comfort in the other's presence amidst their individual struggles. In that fleeting exchange, amidst the noise of passing cars and city life, they forged a bond rooted in genuine empathy, a testament to the power of kindness when faced with adversity. As their conversation drew to a close, Clara's heart felt lighter, buoyed by the unexpected bond formed in such a short time. She glanced at the clock on her dashboard and realized she had already spent more time than she intended with Jonah. A wave of gratitude washed over her, and she turned to him with sincere appreciation in her eyes. "Thank you so much again, Jonah," Clara said earnestly, her voice filled with warmth. I don't know what I would have done without your help today. You've truly made a difference. Jonah smiled softly, feeling a swell of pride in being able to assist her. I'm just glad I could help, he replied modestly. We all have our tough days, don't we? Clara nodded, feeling an emotional tug as she realized how much she would miss this shared moment. She took a deep breath and looked around at the busy street before turning back to him. I'll remember this. Your kindness has reminded me that there are still good people out there. Jonah's heart warmed at her words. Don't forget to pay it forward when you can, he encouraged, his eyes sparkling with sincerity. That's how we keep the kindness alive. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card, extending it towards him. This is my contact information. If you ever need anything or just want to talk, please reach out. Jonah was taken aback but accepted the card with a grateful nod, tucking it safely into his pocket. The two shared one last smile before Clara climbed into her car and buckled her seatbelt. As she drove away, Jonah watched the taillights of her sedan fade into the distance, feeling uplifted and hopeful. He knew that their meeting had been significant. In the hustle of city life, two strangers had crossed paths in compassion and understanding, an encounter that he would carry in his heart for days to come. The next day dawned bright and sunny, the city bustling with its usual energy. Jonah woke up on his familiar patch of pavement, feeling a lingering warmth in his heart from the previous day's encounter with Clara. He tucked the business card she had given him safely in his pocket, pondering if he should reach out to her. The thought filled him with both excitement and apprehension. As the morning wore on, Jonah busied himself with his routine, chatting with familiar faces in the area, accepting spare change, and collecting discarded items that might be useful. But today felt different. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, as if something extraordinary was about to unfold. Just after noon, Jonah noticed a flash of red out of the corner of his eye, an eye-catching Ferrari gliding through the streets, turning heads as it approached. He watched curiously as it slowed down near his spot, the engine purring softly. The driver rolled down the window, revealing a well-dressed woman with striking features and an air of confidence. "Excuse me," she called out, scanning for Jonah among the pedestrians milling about. "Is there a man named Jonah here?" Surprised, Jonah stepped closer to the car, heart racing at the unexpected recognition. "That's me," he replied cautiously. "Hi, I'm Clara's friend. She told me about you." The woman smiled. "She wanted me to bring you something special." Before Jonah could say anything further, she reached into the passenger seat and pulled out an envelope neatly sealed. "Clara asked me to deliver this to you," she explained, handing it over with a warm smile. Jonah took the envelope, feeling a mix of confusion and curiosity. He opened it slightly to peek inside but felt overwhelmed by what awaited him. As he stood there, gripping the envelope tightly in his hand, he realized that today's encounter could lead to an even bigger twist in his life than he had anticipated. As Jonah stood there, clutching the envelope in his hand, a sleek red Ferrari glided to a stop in front of him, drawing immediate attention from passers-by. Its polished exterior gleamed under the bright sun, reflecting the vibrant energy of the bustling city around them. The distinct roar of its powerful engine and the low hum of the tires on the pavement made heads turn. People couldn't help but pause and stare at the luxurious vehicle parked so incongruously near where Jonah made his home. The car's striking color and design were a stark contrast to the everyday surroundings of the busy street filled with pedestrians and street vendors. As onlookers whispered among themselves, curiosity filled the air. Who could possibly own such an extravagant car? And why had it stopped here in front of a homeless man? Jonah felt their stares piercing through him as he shifted his weight uncomfortably. The sight of the Ferrari was both awe-inspiring and daunting. He had spent years on these streets witnessing countless interactions between wealthy individuals and those struggling to survive. Typically, those in luxury vehicles sped past without a second thought, but this time was different. The passenger window slid down smoothly, revealing a well-dressed woman with confident poise and an inviting smile. Her presence exuded warmth that seemed to counterbalance the car's opulence. Jonah felt a mixture of hope and trepidation swirl within him. She was not just another passerby, but someone who had come specifically for him. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice clear but gentle amid the urban noise. "Is there a man named Jonah here?" With that simple question, murmurs rippled through the small crowd gathered nearby. Jonah stepped forward hesitantly, heart racing as he realized this moment might lead to something unforeseen. An opportunity for change sparked by kindness and connection amidst his struggles. As Jonah stepped closer to the Ferrari, the driver leaned out of the window, her smile radiating warmth and familiarity. The moment their eyes met, recognition sparked between them. It was Clara, the same woman he had helped just the day before. His heart raced as he realized that this unexpected encounter was not merely a coincidence but an intentional act stemming from their previous connection. "Jonah!" Clara exclaimed, excitement lighting up her features. "I'm so glad to see you again." She opened the car door and stepped out, exuding an air of confidence tempered with genuine kindness. The crowd of onlookers watched with growing curiosity, whispering among themselves as they took in the scene unfolding before them. Jonah stood momentarily speechless. You're Clara?" he stammered, still processing how someone who had seemed so far removed from his world had returned to him in such a dazzling manner. "Yes, I wanted to find you," she replied, stepping forward with an earnest expression. "After yesterday, I couldn't stop thinking about your kindness. You helped me when I felt lost and alone." Her voice carried a sense of urgency, as if she had been waiting for this moment to express her gratitude fully. Clara reached into her bag and handed him the envelope he had seen earlier. "This is for you," she said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. "It's my way of saying thank you for what you did for me. I want to help you now." Jonah accepted the envelope, his hands trembling slightly. He felt overwhelmed by her desire to repay his kindness. It was something he never expected from someone who seemed worlds apart from him just a day before. As he stood there holding the envelope, he realized this moment could signify a turning point in his life, a chance for new beginnings anchored in mutual respect and compassion. As Jonah carefully opened the envelope in front of Clara, he felt a flutter of anticipation. Inside, he discovered not just cash, but a handwritten note that made his heart race. "I want to offer you a job opportunity at my company. Your skills and kindness are too valuable to go unnoticed." Clara's words resonated deeply with him, filling him with a sense of hope he hadn't felt in years. "What? A job?" Jonah stammered, disbelief washing over him as he looked up to meet her gaze. "You really want me to work for you?" "Yes," she replied earnestly. "I believe in second chances. You showed me such kindness when I needed it most. I want to help you find your way back into the world. You have experience as an electrician, and we could really use someone with your skill set." Jonah felt a rush of emotions flooding through him: gratefulness, excitement, and a touch of fear about what this new opportunity might entail. "I don't know what to say," he finally managed to respond, his voice trembling with emotion. "This is incredible." Clara smiled warmly, sensing his hesitance but also his genuine desire for change. "You deserve this chance, Jonah," she reassured him. "Sometimes all it takes is one act of kindness to create a ripple effect that can change everything." As Jonah processed her gesture, he realized the profound impact it had not only on him but also on how he viewed the world around him. This was more than just an offer. It represented a pathway back into society, a chance to reclaim his life and contribute meaningfully once again. "Thank you for believing in me," Jonah said as tears welled in his eyes. "I won't let you down." In that moment, beneath the sun-drenched sky and surrounded by curious onlookers, Jonah felt as though he had been given a new lease on life, one filled with possibility and purpose driven by an unexpected bond formed through compassion and empathy. In the days that followed their transformative encounter, both Jonah and Clara found themselves reflecting deeply on what had transpired. For Jonah, the job offer marked a significant turning point in his life. It was more than just a position. It was an opportunity to reclaim his identity, to reestablish his place in the world he once navigated with confidence. The initial disbelief that had washed over him at Clara's gesture gradually morphed into determination. Each morning, he awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, eager to embrace the challenges ahead. Yet it wasn't just about work for Jonah. It was about proving to himself that he was worthy of kindness and trust. He began to see himself not as a victim of circumstance, but as someone who could contribute meaningfully to society again. His heart brimmed with gratitude, not only for the job opportunity but also for the connection he had formed with Clara, a bond that transcended societal boundaries. As for Clara, her perspective shifted in equally profound ways. Having navigated the pressures of her career, she often felt isolated despite being surrounded by people. Meeting Jonah reminded her that true fulfillment comes from connections grounded in humanity and understanding. His story illuminated the struggles many face daily, prompting her to reconsider her own priorities and the way she viewed success. In the following weeks, she found herself advocating for greater awareness of social issues within her workplace and volunteering her time to help those less fortunate than herself. Through Jonah's experience, Clara recognized the importance of giving back and actively sought opportunities to make a difference. Their paths became intertwined beyond the initial act of kindness. Each transformed by their encounter, they embodied hope and resilience, reminders that compassion can weave unexpected tapestries of change in both their lives and those around them. Together, they demonstrated how one moment of empathy could ripple outward, inspiring growth and new beginnings for others in their respective journeys. As Jonah settled into his new role, he often reflected on how a single moment of kindness had the power to change lives. His journey from homelessness to hope was not just about finding employment. It was a profound reminder of the connections that bind us as human beings. Jonah realized that by helping Clara during her time of need, he had unwittingly opened the door to his own transformation. It served as a testament to the ripple effect that kindness can create, inspiring him to extend his support to others in the community who were struggling. Similarly, Clara's advocacy for social issues blossomed as she shared Jonah's story with her colleagues and friends. She organized volunteer days at local shelters and spoke passionately about the importance of empathy and understanding in everyday interactions. Each person she reached inspired more people to act, creating a network of goodwill that began to spread through the community like wildfire. Their stories intertwined, illustrating that generosity does not merely benefit one person. It enriches entire communities. This shared journey highlighted the essence of humanity, how we can uplift one another through small acts of compassion. Jonah and Clara's connection became a beacon of hope for others who felt lost or forgotten. As readers reflect on this narrative, they are encouraged to recognize and seize opportunities for kindness in their own lives. Whether it's offering help to someone in distress or simply lending a listening ear, every act counts. In a world that often feels divided, these moments of connection can serve as powerful reminders that we are all part of a larger story, capable of making impactful changes through empathy and generosity. The challenge lies in taking that first step, because you never know how far your kindness may reach or how it might transform someone else's life, just as it did for Jonah and Clara.